as an entrepreneur, you have so many things to be aware of, but you do not have to be an expert at all of them. You do have to be aware. So you may not be the accountant who's actually doing the books within your business, but if your accountant brings you the books, you should be able to read them. Do you see the difference? If you can't read them, then they'll tell you whatever they say. You need to be aware of the marketing strategy and communication strategy of your business. Why? Because even if you're working with somebody else, you need to be part of that communication strategy. Every element of your business, and that's why we talk about it even in the class. If you can put up the slide with the modules. You get a good awareness of each one of these areas. But at Centonomy, we believe that being an entrepreneur is a skill set. Now, what's so lovely about a skill set is it means it can be learned. You see, it's not like a talent. You know, there's some people who are talented. If you're talented at music or you're not, that one is not your fault. It's the gift that you have been given or not. But if it is a skill set, it means you can learn. And you can be able to sit at the beginning of your business and say, this is what we want to see, just like a conductor of an orchestra, to be able to manage that business.
I am Zia Bet Nyamari, and I am passionate about sustainable fashion and building a brand that not only makes women look good, but does good for the planet. I changed Zia into a mission. And I had two key things that I wanted to focus on. Number one, I wanted to build a community. So I began local production. With one tailor and one pattern drafter, who is now the head of design and operations, we began Zia Africa. And now we have a team of almost 25. The second thing I wanted to do was invest in growth. This meant that I had to invest in building a financially sustainable business and reinvesting my profits back into the business to increase my reach. Choose progress over perfection, and don't let the fear of making a mistake hold you back. Secondly, find your tribe. Find people who believe in your vision. Find people who you can call and be like, hey, today was a rough day. I just need to vent for 1 hour. And that's it. Find people who encourage you when you tell them, I want to quit. And they're like, that's not an option. Yeah? And lastly, never stop learning. It's great that you're here. So I know already you like to learn. So continue. Be adaptable. Be curious. And embrace new challenges.
My name is Alexia Msao, as you've heard, and I am the co-founder of Stairwell Rentals. It's been 3 years, and we are based here in Nairobi. We are a short-term rentals property management company. As much as I'm here to talk about Stairwell Rentals, I'm also an alumnus of Centonomy Entrepreneurship Program. I was in season 30. That was from June last year, I think, and we graduated in September. So I'd heard about Centonomy, I think even during campus days, you know, I'd heard of the the individual program, and then so I was even in their mailing list. So I always knew what's happening. It wasn't foreign to me. And then I got to learn about the entrepreneurship program. I think I was following there's Makeup City, Ornella. I think she was doing the course, even Kanye of Beauty Square as well. So just seeing them taking part in the course. And then I think it now came up on my page, and I was like, okay, I think I put a note, and I was like, I think I'll sign up for this program. Then there's something that Centonomy does that is really good. They have a free trial class where I think there's one coming up, where you get to experience the class. You have a session where you get to experience the class. And I signed up for the trial class, and once you sign up for that class, trust me, you will want to take part in the course. I love that we started with the mindset of an entrepreneur, which we know everything comes from the mind. So you have to first believe you're an entrepreneur, understand who an entrepreneur is, and then flow from there. Another thing I really loved about the course that also helped me with Stairwell is learning the difference between a self-employed person and an entrepreneur. When we started Stairwell, and most businesses, when you start, but they don't feel guilty for working in your business, because in the beginning, probably you can't even hire as many people. So you have to do a lot of things in the business. So we were working, I'd say, full-time in the business, dealing with guest relations. You know how humans can be, even the small things. You'd get a call at midnight. I remember my phone used to give me stress because every time I hear it ringing, I'm like, is it a guest complaint? Is it, what's happening? And I remember the December after we started the business in Feb. So that December, we had traveled out of the country for, just holidays. And I remember after that holiday, I said, we have to hire, because I did not relax. I'm trying to coordinate guest check-ins, cleaning, and I'm in another country. And I remember that's the time I said we need to hire, because this business needs to be able to run as efficient as when we are there and when we've stepped out for a few days. And for something to continue to be a legacy, it cannot revolve around you. It has to have a separate identity from you. Who is your business without you? And I know a lot of people right now are saying, build a personal brand with your business, which is fine. And I believe it's fine, especially in the beginning. And as much as you're building a personal brand within your business, in the back end, you need to be building your team. You need to be building your systems. You need to be building your procedures. If something was to happen to you today, or if you were to sell your company, can someone come in and pick up where you left and things flow? You can make $1 million, $2 million monthly, but out of that, you're making 10,000 because your costs are so high, there's so much you're doing, you're paying to other suppliers, and you're thinking, I'm running a business that's making $1 million, but really you're making 5,000 shillings. And still that 5,000 is not yours. It still has to go back to the business, which means you also need to pay yourself in the business, because you're not going to be able to eat into your profits. Your profits, yes, later you can take a dividend, but your profits are meant to be plowed back into the business. And the sooner you do that, by the way, even with that one, let's say you're selling earrings and you've made 1,000, your cost, come to maybe 600, take a percentage of that as your profit and put it aside and separate it from your accounts, which again has really helped us. It's easier said than done. Let me be honest. It's easier said than done, but once you have this knowledge, start making those steps.
My name is Naomi Nganga, a fashionpreneur, a body positive activist. Confidence is my other name. I'm also a business mentor, and currently I'm the CEO of Style by Naomi, a fashion house that makes women feel beautiful, empowers them to be confident and to be unique and wear their story in their own way. When I realized I need to start building a legendary business is when I once traveled to go and source for fabrics. And I didn't realize I had not really trained my team so well on how to handle clients, because I've always been there. So whenever clients come, I'm always there. So this one time I traveled to source my fabrics. And as I was there, like she said, Alexia, that you get calls, you're still working. You have traveled, but you're still working. So I could get a lot of frustrating calls. Oh, the client is not happy. So by the time I was coming, there was one client who was really pissed off because her dress was not done as she expected, and it was not done on time. And by the time I was coming back to the country that Monday, as I stepped into my office, I was served. I was like, Because at that time, it's the first time I was served as a business person, because of my team failed me at some point, and that client was very frustrated. So it is those setbacks, like those failures that I've really encountered in my business, that have really been part of my growth and awakening. I mean, I had a choice to give up at some point. I had a choice to say, let it, this one, it can't. But I kept moving forward because I had a drive. I really had a drive, and I've always had entrepreneurship spirit in me. For there to be success, there has to be failure. So we need to start embracing failures and just accepting that failure is part of the process, is part of being successful. You can't grow only with the creative side. It's good to have it, but also understand how to run it as a business. And so for me, I want to empower young creative and fashion designers to understand the business side of their craft, because I've gone through it all, and now I have something to share and to be proud of. Okay? So mindset is really, really, really important when you're starting your business. Always start with a big dream. Even if things don't look promising as at the current situation, but think big of your business. think big. Think big. Look for businesses that you admire or that resonate with your industry, the big ones, and see their models and try to just adopt from that, okay? And then the second thing is identity. When you're building a legendary business, it's identity. I mean, have an identity. What is your business known for? When you think of fried chicken, what do you think? KFC. When you think of pizza, what do you think? Pizza Inn, right? When you think of technology, Apple. When you think of e-commerce, e-commerce, Amazon, yeah, or Alibaba, yeah. So that is identity. So when you're getting into entrepreneurship, find identity. When you think of plus size fashion, what do you think? Exactly. If there's a member of a team that you need to hire first when you're starting a business, if you are not good at it, is the accountant. If you can't do it, please, the first member of your team, once you get that money, please hire an accountant. You need to keep your books right. You need to track your expenses. Otherwise, you'll be running an expensive hobby.
My name is Benjamin Kimani, and I run a hardware called Muthokinju Paints and Cements.
Wow.
Yeah, so this year, Muthokinju turns 30. So it's a family business that was founded in the suburbs of Kasarani, started by my parents. It's just a shop in the suburbs of Kasarani, but it's transitioned into second generation for the last 12 years. So I picked up leadership so almost 14 years now, in 2011. So we transformed the business from doing all hardware materials to specifically having an issue of paints and cement. I asked myself, what product or what problems would we solve to those people who are building that the business had not solved before? Because as I'd walk in or as I drive in Kasarani, because I never used to live in Kasarani at that time, I'd see so many hardwares, like 15 to 18 hardwares next to a hardware. And I'd like, what is so special with this hardware of ours? What do we offer? We've been in business at that time. It was almost 16 years, but I didn't see anything extra we offered to the community or to the builders at that time. So that's when I kept on going around and doing my market research by interacting with the people who are building. And at that time, I quickly realized that paints was a problem. They just fetch paints from industry area and it wasn't delivered in good time. So I decided to focus on that. And then when I went dug deeper, at that time, the whole market for the national or for Kenya was quite big, because I think it was at around 20 billion. So I was like, that's a very big opportunity that if we concentrated on it as a business, we'd get a chunk of it and be somewhere. And then now cement again, there used to be a lot of delays of delivery because it's a very capital intensive business where you have to invest in trucks and deliver to the customer wherever they are. So again, that's another opportunity we saw, or rather I saw at that time. When I say we, because whatever I saw, I discussed with my parents and my wife, who is part of the business. So yes, having that organizational structure whereby each one has got a role and they know what they're doing has really helped us to be able to achieve, especially us as the board, to achieve results through the team. So when for instance, when it comes to, we've got various departments. So we've got the department that is able to deal with the branches, logistics, marketing, procurement, HR, to deal with all those people. So we are now achieving results through those various departments, but also something else that has really helped us over the last 2 or 3 years is governance, because we've now put a layer of board members on top of me, which is a very good thing that I'd recommend any entrepreneur here doing in the beginning. You as a person, your business becomes your DNA. So you really need to work on yourself. You need to really understand yourself in terms of how to run your financials. For instance, you have to do a lot of delayed gratification in the beginning because you don't have so many resources. You have to forego some of the things that look good to have or what your friends or other entrepreneurs are having. So I think delayed gratification is something else I'd urge every entrepreneur to have. And then finally is mentors. Mentors.
My first 2 businesses failed because I was doing the business because it was a good business idea. It was an idea. I was in the stock market and I was like, okay, let me start stocks. So it was like, okay, just an idea. I crashed and burnt in a couple of years. Then another one, I started to help investment groups. Again, it was a good idea brought to me by other people and I joined them in it, yeah? But there was something missing. What was missing? What do you think is missing in all that? Because some of us start businesses because they're a good idea. And are you wondering why you don't have the energy to keep it up? Passion, conviction. Yeah, it didn't come from a place where I was convicted about it. Not that it was not a bad idea. And honestly, when I look back and say there's no substantial reason why those businesses could have failed, but I could not pull myself to something was not working. This business worked because I had to dig deep and use the best bits of myself. It was not because I worked on my weaknesses. I managed them, yeah, but it is thrived because I used the best bits of myself. So the best bits of myself is when I'm creating. The best bits of myself is when I'm communicating. The best bits of myself is when I'm talking about this conviction I have. You have to be so willing, even all these challenges that come, to sit and say, actually, I don't have the luxury of somebody doing this for me. I stepped away from political conversations, especially during election time, because I learned I don't have the luxury of complaining. I don't have the luxury because at the end of the day, people are still waiting for salaries to be paid. So I don't have the luxury of sitting in this conversation. And at Centonomy, we call it the poverty support group. Whilst me, I still have people to teach and a business to run. So please understand that since you don't have a plan B for yourself. So what environment are you going to put yourself in constantly so that you are continuing to be and evolve the person who's going to make this work and thrive? You need to realize, as I said before, you have something very unique as an individual to offer, and that goes to your business. Be the best. Now, again, we don't like saying this, but if you are unique, then you are called to be the best in whatever it is you are doing. It doesn't mean other people are not the best in what they are doing. But if you're going to actually do that business, then be the best at it. If you're creating moments for corporates, challenge yourself and say, how am I going to be the best? And being the best doesn't mean focusing on others and how you're beating them. It's saying, am I doing this to the best level of my own ability?
What these classes do is they give you that overview so that you're able to say, I am not an expert in fundraising, but I now begin to know what at my level of business, what's the best kind of funding that's there, the triple F, or is it now to begin to go through debt, or is it to go through equity funding, or is it to go to an IPO, which I pray we have more and more in our country, because we need to build businesses for us to grow, not just in our country, but in this continent. We have too many small businesses. We need to build more bigger ones. That's where the growth is going to happen. So if you have a working knowledge of these areas, then you're able to bring in the team that is going to assist you to do that. So I continue to encourage you, please do register for the class.